Hi, welcome to Gabie's Knit Goodies. Today is all about Caitlin Hunter, Boyland Knitworks patterns. I have knit quite a few of her patterns, 8 or 9 I believe, and one of them I have knit twice. And I will go through, tell you what I've knit, what I did wrong, what I would do differently if I knit them again. And I have to say, I love her style. I love her colors a lot of times that she chooses, as well as just the vibe of her sweaters. And so I have knit her patterns more than any other designer. So here's a recap of all of the ones I have knit, and I will just take you step by step through them. Let's see, probably I've knit these sweaters over the past 3 or 4 years. So I'm going to attempt to do them in chronological order. And I believe that this one was the first one that I knit of hers. This is the Zweig sweater. Don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Z-W-E-I-G. And its original pattern has a different color for this lacework yoke than the rest of the body. I chose to knit it all in one color because I thought I would wear it more, which is probably true. And I really love how it turned out in just the one color. I did make some mistakes though. I've learned a number of things about what I like in a sweater over the years of knitting them, as well as just some basics. For one, I ended up not knitting twisted stitches in the lacework, which is what you're supposed to do, and that would make it cleaner. Like, twisted stitches would make like these little lines just more defined, and that's what I should have done, but I didn't. And it's because I was wrapping my yarn wrong at the time, and I actually twisted all of these stitches in the body of the sweater as opposed to the lacework. But that's okay. It still turned out lovely. It is a top-down yoked sweater with short row shaping in the back to bring up the back of the neck, and it has a fairly intricate lace that you really have to pay attention to in this yoke section. And then you split for your sleeves, knit the body, and then knit the sleeves, and it has a small texture on the body. It's like little 1x1 cables all over it, which you can easily do without a cable needle. One thing I did at the time with this sweater is I knit a size or 2 smaller than what I should have. It is intended to have positive ease and a good amount of positive ease, so it's intended to be very roomy here. And number one, I didn't want to spend all that much in yarn, and I wanted it to be quicker. So I was like, I'll just knit a size that will fit, but maybe not have as much positive ease. And I thought that wouldn't be a problem, which I like the look of this sweater, but the sleeves ended up being snug. I wouldn't say they're negative ease, but they're kind of zero ease. Yeah. So, and I think because more the sleeve than the body still has a little bit of room here, but because of the tightness of the sleeves, I don't wear this one very much, which is kind of sad because it is gorgeous. I think that maybe one day I will knit another one and even do the contrast yoke, because I really do love this sweater. But I would just knit it according to pattern as opposed to knitting a size too small. Because, yeah, I realize I don't like snug sleeves. I like overall just roomy sweaters, and I did not make this one roomy. Did you guys have a problem with that when you started knitting sweaters? We wanted to knit smaller because you're done quicker and you don't have to buy as much yarn. Yeah, totally not worth it in my case. The yarn itself is like a variegated, I would say it's more of a variegated than just a tonal, because it's got like rusty colors and almost purpley colors in here. It does pill a bit. It is an Australian wool. They called it, in quotes, Australian merino. I can't remember like who it's from. I got it at a fiber festival, and it was definitely less expensive than other merino wool yarns that were hand dyed. So it was hand dyed, but it's Australian wool, and I am perfectly fine with the wool. I have no problem with that. It isn't quite as soft as like the merino wool I have in a number of my other sweaters, and like the stuff that I dye. It's not quite as soft as that, but yeah, I don't have any. I would totally buy it again. I would just knit the sweater another size or two bigger. So that is all for this sweater. I would totally recommend the pattern. Just be prepared to pay close attention to your lace work. And if you do, you totally get rewarded with a gorgeous lace yoke, which gives you kind of a little peekaboo of your skin through, or of whatever shirt you have under it, to show off that lace work, which is fun. All right, next sweater up is Sunset Highway Sweater. Okay, this is the Sunset Highway Sweater, and I think that this is my favorite sweater that I have knit. I believe it is. It is definitely the most worn sweater. I have one cardigan that I wear a huge amount. It's a big bulky cardigan. But in terms of all of my sweater knitting, I think that I've worn this one the most. And I think that's for a few reasons. Yeah, so Sunset Highway Sweater. It is, again, a top-down yoked sweater. This one is color work, not lace. It has no added texture other than like ribbing. It also has the short rows in the back and long ribbed cuffs, and it has color work, the color work yoke down to about the arm split, and it also has color work yoke like around the elbow area, which is really fun. And then it has a high-low hem. So she uses short rows so that the back scoops down. And it's a very minimal ribbing on the end there, on the hem. So, number one reason I think I like the sweater is the color work. I really tried to kind of mimic the sample vibe, because I really liked kind of the vibe of that sweater, but I could not afford the yarn that she used. It was a beautiful hand-dyed yarn, and I would have loved to have used it. I just at the time couldn't afford it. So I went on Knit Picks and online tried to choose yarns, and this is the Hawthorne line of yarn. It is, it's not merino, but I can't remember the type of wool. It might be like Peruvian Highlands or something like that. So it's not, again, it's not as soft as merino. However, on the plus side, I have worn this thing so many times and it has held up so well. Like, there's a little bit of pilling, but not that much. And I have worn it an awful lot. I was very worried about my color choice for the body, but on her sweater, she kind of had this like corally, orangey tone going on in the body, and I wanted to match that. And this was the only yarn that was close to it, and it was way orangier than I had wanted. However, I absolutely love it. It's very happy, and that orange body has like a little bit of specks of blue and has red in it, and because it's like a lightly speckled orange, it's not like glaring or anything. Like it's a little more subdued when, not viewed close up. I also was concerned about this particular colorway because I wasn't sure it was going to match very well because it's gray with kind of a pinky red and some yellow in it. But it just worked out so well. I loved how it turned out. I did knit this one according to the pattern, like recommendations for the sizing. So I did not go down any sizing, which I think is part of the reason why I really like to wear it. It's also fingering weight. The Zweig is also fingering weight. And so it being lightweight and roomy and long, like, it's just really easy to wear. And it's one of those sweaters, because it's so striking with the color work, you can just throw it on and feel like complete, like just a pair of jeans and the sweater and like you're done. You don't need any jewelry. The sweater just, speaks for itself. So, yes. I got room here in my cuff, but the cuffs are tight enough that they don't come over my hands. Yeah, sizing just worked well. Following the pattern recommendations for the positive ease definitely was worked in my favor with how I like to wear sweaters, as like the garment on the outside, coziness. Yeah, so, and it's thin enough to tuck in, so I can kind of do a front tuck, or I can just wear it long and cozy. So, Sunset Highway sweater is definitely a win for me. Like I said, I think my favorite sweater. Next up, the Misurina sweater. So this is the Misurina sweater, and I love this color work. It is a short sleeve sweater. You could knit it long sleeve, I'm sure. I can't remember if the pattern had an option for long sleeve, but the original pattern does have longer sleeves than what I had, than what I've done here. However, I was working with limited yarn. This is Berroco Quechua yarn, and it is buttery soft and gorgeous and has multiple animal fibers mixed in together to make a very lovely yarn. But I only had, I don't remember exactly how much yarn I had, but it wasn't quite as much as what the pattern called for, and I didn't have enough of the main body to knit the sleeves full. In fact, I ran out of yarn and ended up doing contrast cuffs, but I think that turned out very cute. And I also have some contrast yarn here at the bottom. Actually, like halfway through my ribbing. So this pattern is, again, a top-down yoked sweater, and I believe it has short rows as well. Yes, short rows in the back. But this one combines both color work, lace, and cables, all three. So you can see it has this beautiful little lace pattern up here, along with these little cables. And so that it's not only fun to do, but I think it's really pretty. And then the color work on the yoke are these big flowers. And I really kind of like the big graphic color work in this sweater, because a lot of color work is a lot of small patterns or a lot of like smaller repeats or things like that, but these are very defined, like flowers that are separate from one another, and I like that. And they're divided by little cables, so you have cables between your big colorwork flowers. I think it turned out really pretty. This is another one I'd be happy to knit again. Maybe a long sleeve version would be fun. This is another fingering weight sweater, and I knit the body with the eyelets. I think there's two options in the pattern. One has a texture, I think, and then this one has eyelets. And because I was knitting short sleeves, I figured the more air I got to cool it off would be good, because this is definitely not a, the yarn that I've used is not a summer fiber really. So I wear this one more in the transition seasons rather than in the summer, and I can even wear it in the winter with either like a cardigan over top of it, or like a jeans jacket over top of it, and like a long sleeve shirt under it. So again, highly recommend this pattern. Absolutely love this sweater. And I knit it to the pattern recommendations, I believe, for my size, which gives a good amount of positive ease, but it's not as big as my Sunset Highway sweater. So, all right, let's see what's next. Soldotna sweater. Okay, this is the Soldotna sweater. And this one is actually supposed to be DK weight, I believe. And I used a thick fingering weight. So I think it was around 400 yards per 100 grams. I will put the name of the yarn here, because I believe I have it somewhere. And this is a dyed-in-the-wool yarn, but it is not, I think the original pattern may have had the dyed-in-the-wool spin cycle yarn. This is not spin cycle, it's another one, but it is also dyed-in-the-wool, but this is a fingering weight, thick fingering weight yarn. Top down yoked sweater again, with no texture, just all over color work. The body has a very simple color work in it. And then the yoke has a lot of detailed color work. I do really like how this turned out, and this sweater works well for me for fall, especially like, I feel like it really suits like Thanksgiving time frame for some reason. Maybe it's the green, and this one works well with like a long sleeve shirt, like a black shirt under it. Yeah, because if it's a sweater and it's short sleeve, a lot of times I also want my arms covered, because I'm just, I don't know, I typically don't wear a sweater if it's not fairly cool out, even if it's short sleeves, unless it's like a cotton or linen one. Anyways, so it's got the same short rows in the back to lengthen the back. I did modify this one. It calls for a number of stockinette after the ribbing, before the color work. And a lot of people had said that the sweater was like kind of choking them a bit, like it kind of came up funnel-like. And so I just omitted all of those stockinette stitch rows and went straight into the increases and the color work. So I just skipped those rows. And I'm thrilled with how that worked out. I had seen someone else do that in another podcast. Yeah, it was a fun one because you change your pattern so often that it's just interesting. And then also using dyed-in-the-wool yarn, it changes too. So you have a lot of variety going on, which is very fun. Because I knit this out of a thinner weight yarn, I knit up a size, I believe, and then I had to lengthen it right here. So under the arms, I think I knit this section just a tiny bit longer before I split for my sleeves, because I needed a little extra length under the arms. That's about the only modification I did, knitting up a size and then lengthening under the arms just a tad for the thinner weight yarn. And then the body has, you can't really see it very well on the screen, I don't think, but there's an all over color work in the body. I know some people omit that, but I did add it in, and I really like it. Here we go. So it's not super obvious, but I think it's really cute. And part of the reason it's not super obvious is because of that dyed-in-the-wool yarn that changes color. And so it's not like one solid on another solid. I would knit this one again. Again, I'd love to knit one and then do long sleeves. And yeah, it being DK weight, it would be quicker if I actually knit it DK weight. So maybe I'll knit one of these again. All right, on to the next sweater. So this is the Ramblin Woman cardigan. I don't feel like this one got a huge amount of publicity. It's a really pretty sweater cardigan, but it is large. In fact, it's supposed to be like longer than what mine is. Mine comes down to here, and I don't know what was going on with my gauge, but my gauge definitely was tighter than the pattern, I believe. It definitely was, because it's not as long as it is supposed to be. Yeah, and it's all over colorwork, and you actually steek it. Now, I had never steeked a sweater before, and the whole idea of cutting my knitting was a very scary thing to do, especially when you've done huge amounts of all over color work. The idea of cutting it is very, very scary. And then this yarn is actually acrylic yarn. It is some yarn that my mom had for me. She found it like a thrift store, and it was like a set of acrylic yarns. And I just really liked the color combo. And so I was like, well, why not? I'll try it and see if it works. And so that's what I did. So in terms of doing color work with acrylic yarn, I don't have a problem with that. I don't know if it's because I have decent tension in my color work, so it's not, too tight or too loose. I do tend to go up a needle size when I do color work versus stockinette stitch, or I should, because it is a little bit tighter, but I don't have a lot of unevenness in my color work. So using acrylic yarn, I really didn't have a problem with that. However, when you're steeking, you want those fibers to grip together so it doesn't unravel and stuff. So I decided to end up using a sewing machine to sew up left and right of where you're going to cut before I cut it, because I was quite worried about it. And I actually put a little piece of fabric there when I did that, so that so my sewing machine could handle it, because my sewing machine didn't like sewing up, just knitted fabric like this, and the floats kind of would get caught. And so I ended up putting a piece of fabric, I have a video all about this, and using that on one side, and I sewed it up, and then I did the whole picking up stitches and doing an edging. So a few things about this sweater. I wish it had pockets. It needs pockets, in my opinion, because it's just like an open sweater and it needs pockets. I ended up knitting extra length here after this color work because my sleeve wasn't long enough, and I had done the whole body because everything's in color work in one needle, and I kept it the same needle, and you can see that my stockinette stitching is bigger than my color work, so it does balloon out a little bit, but I actually really like the sleeves. Yeah, so I wish I had pockets, and I kept thinking that I would make some pockets and add them on, but I haven't done that yet. It's also supposed to have a tie that you double knit, I think, but I have yet to do that. I still have the yarn just sitting, waiting to make a tie, and maybe one day I'll do it, hopefully. That would be really nice, but I haven't done it. The thing I dislike about it is this square neckline for a cardigan. A knit cardigan, unless it's being buttoned up, I decided that I probably don't love just the square neckline. And also because of the steeked edge and then the wrapping of the steeked edge here that I've done, it makes it kind of stiff there. So I think in the future if I do cardigans, I will do more of a V-neck line or something like that. Yeah, and right here, there's a decent amount of space between this last flower and then where you steek it on both sides here. And I wish I had something else going on there because it's a very long section of white. And I don't know. Yeah. But I truly think if I had knit this in wool fabric or wool yarn, that I probably would like it more. However, it being an acrylic yarn, it's not precious. So I have no problems just throwing it on to, go do whatever. So that's actually a plus. Yeah. So I don't know if I would knit this one again because it is a lot to do. But if I knit it again, I would definitely do the pockets. I would definitely add pockets. I don't think the pattern has pockets as an option, but I would definitely add some pockets and do it out of a wool yarn. Yeah. I would like to see some other people who've made this. It's a pretty cool pattern though. It's got a lot of gorgeous color work. Her version is much more colorful, but I like the combo I did. Alright, this one is the Nordiska pattern. It is definitely different than the other ones. It's not a top-down seamless yoked sweater. It is a top-down seamless sweater, but it is actually a raglan and it is a V-neck, which is definitely different. So I think if I can remember correctly, you cast on and knit back and forth until this V, and then you join in the round and you go. Some of the special things, I think then you pick up stitches and knit the neck up at the end. But some of the things that make this one a little bit special is where your raglan is. There's a little cable, front and back, which it just makes it really cute. Just adds a nice little touch to it. And then of course there is the color work, which is lovely. And there's also color work on the sleeves. Now the original pattern is cropped. Like, I think the color work would be kind of up there, as well as the sleeves are a little, like 3/4 length sleeves. They're a little shorter than what I made them. I decided to knit the sleeves so they come all the way down to my wrist and knit the body just a little bit longer. I'm happy that I lengthened the sleeves, but I feel like if I had kept the color work just, a couple inches higher here, I think actually I may have liked the kind of feel of the sweater, like the vibe of the sweater better. I wear this one a good bit, and I like it a lot. I just feel like it has a little more, of an edginess, I guess, and just a cooler vibe with it being a little more cropped and having that color work a little higher, like right under the bust. But I do love this and I wear it all the time. It is a fingering weight sweater, also knit out of that Berroco Quechua one, and gray. It does pill a bit, but it's worth it, and you can just, depill it if you ever get the chance to depill it. I'm not very good about that, but it's very soft and lovely. And I tried to kind of marry her or match her yarns that she chose because her sweater is really pretty and I really liked it. So I did like a charcoal and a brown as my contrast colors there. Yeah, I got this yarn on sale at a yarn store not too far away near my parents' house. Yeah, so it's a raglan V-neck as opposed to a crew neck, which is fun. And I knit the pattern with the positive ease that it recommended. It does have a deep armhole here. And I love it. I've considered knitting this one again as well and knitting the yoke, or this, not the yoke, the color work up higher and just shortening it. And maybe even knitting it another size up to be even wider. But yeah, I have a lot of knitting dreams and maybe not as much knitting time. All right. Okay, this is the Easy V sweater. I really like it. It is a worsted weight sweater. I knit this one out of my own hand-dyed yarn. It is 100% merino, so it is so soft. And it's very squishy and lightweight and has a lot of elasticity, I guess bounce to it, has a lot of memory. So it feels kind of like a sweatshirt. Like it's just got that cozy vibe, but it doesn't like hang and pull. Like sometimes yarns can kind of just be very drapey, and this one's much more like your favorite, hoodie, sweatshirt or something. I love it. Also, the unique thing about this sweater, it has this huge V-neck in the front, in the back, and so it makes it so I'm not hot, even though this is a worsted weight merino sweater. I can wear it like in the fall when it's not super cold yet, because I have all of this room around my neck to cool off, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so construction, it is top down and seamless, and you cast on actually before this neckline, the ribbing, and then you work increases along the way. It actually has kind of a raglan shaping, but it's very narrow. It has like this shoulder section here and then increases on both sides of that, and then it has the increases right here in the center as well. Yeah, so I found that very a unique construction type and very interesting, and yeah, I really like it. And then you get into all of the color work. I knit this one probably on the upper end of my size range maybe. I definitely did not go down a size because I wanted it cozy and roomy and like a big sweatshirt. So it is pretty deep under the arms as intended, and plenty of room in the waist as well. The original pattern, I believe, has spin cycle yarn in multiple different colors for these little like V type color work here. I wanted to use my own hand-dyed yarn, and so I just used variegated and speckled yarns in the color work section, and I do really like how they turned out. And it also has color work here on the sleeves. You can see it a little better here. So this colorway is very similar to this main body, which is kind of a salmon color, but it has darker stripes and even some black speckles in it. And then the blue one is a variegated blue with just different blues, but then it also has a little bit of this color mixed in with it. So it's not kind of going with her sample with the dyed in the wool spin cycle yarns. There isn't as much definition in the color work, like intentionally, and I kind of wanted to have a similar vibe with my hand-dyed yarn. So that is what I did. I like this sweater a lot. It's one of those, like I said, it's kind of like a sweatshirt, and it's just comfortable. You don't overheat. I mean, it's lovely. Alright, so I think the only real modifications I did with this one is the modified yarn. And the original pattern also has like 4 different yarns in the yoke, whereas I only did 2, so that I could just have 2 different skeins to work with as opposed to like 4 different skeins. But I love it. Alright, so I have the Ghost Horses sweater, which I've knit twice. One for myself, which I love, and one for my daughter out of scrap yarn. That one's super fun, and she enjoys it. And then I also have the Alpine Bloom sweater tee that I actually test knitted for Caitlin Hunter. I was super excited to do that. First time ever test knitting for her. And yeah, that went really well. And both of those sweaters, my version, or the Ghost Horses sweater that I knit for myself, as well as the Alpine Bloom tee, are at a trunk show. So I will have to put some footage in here either when they get back or else some that I have already recorded. So I'll put that in here. It's the Ghost Horses sweater by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks, excuse me. And I will put all the information here as well as down below in the little information box below. My initial overall feelings on this sweater is that I absolutely love it. I love the fact that it has these little horses on it, but that they are not like in your face, like cutesy childish color work. And I guess she called it ghost horses because it's not obvious. Some people actually have to point it out that there are horses on here. So, but once they see it, they easily see them. Anyways, so I really like that. I like that it is all over color work. I love the fact that I knit the long sleeve version because it's just something I will wear much more. And having fingering weight yarn in an all over color work sweater makes it so it's just the right thickness to wear a lot. So I can layer it and make it warmer, or I can just wear it as is and it's not as warm, it's a little bit lighter. I'll talk a little bit more about the yarn in a minute, but I love the yarn that I knit it out of. It is my own hand-dyed yarn, which makes it extra special, and it's so soft and next to skin, like soft. I don't even have to wear like a long sleeve shirt under this. So a little bit about the sweater. It is a top-down yoked sweater, and you start with the ribbing here at the neck, and you go into your color work, and it's all over color work, like I said, but it's only 2-stranded color work. You never bring in a 3rd strand. You do your increases in the yoke, then you split for your sleeves and knit the rest of your body, and then you put those stitches back on your needles and pick up stitches under the arm, and you knit the rest of your sleeve. Now the pattern and the sample in her pattern, let me take it back. The sample in her pattern has a cropped sleeve, not the full long sleeves, but the pattern does come with instructions for long sleeves as well as the cropped sleeves. The one thing you need to be careful of is your yardage. I think the yardage is spoken for the cropped sleeves, I believe. And yes, the mid-length sleeves, which are like just above the elbow, and her cropped version. So if you're going to knit a longer sleeves, then you just make sure you have enough yarn. Okay, the fitted version that is in this pattern, it recommends like a 1 to 3 inch positive ease. Is not my style, and if I had made it fitted, I just wouldn't wear it very much. So according to the pattern, I would have knit a size 2 to make the fitted garment. I knit a size 5, so a good bit bigger. I will go get the one that I knit for my daughter out of scrap yarn. So it's a scrappy Ghost Horses sweater, which has a totally different vibe, and it's very cute. So I just pulled this out of my daughter's drawer. Her Ghost Horses sweater. I knit the smallest size in the pattern for her and didn't really do any other modifications other than use whatever yarn I had around. So I had a good amount of this blue, and I didn't know if I'd have enough. I figured I would just pick up and use whatever else I could find. And then I had some hand-dyed yarn from somebody else, and then I think a lot of these colors were from like Joann Fabrics, and the pinky color here actually is a little bit sparkly. I don't know if you can see that or not. And you see the horses? Sometimes like you can't see the horses until they're pointed out, and then they're very easy to spot. And I guess that's why she calls it Ghost Horse sweater. So that's his head, that's his eye, his front foot. He has like a saddle, back leg, and tail. And then I just continued in the pattern using whatever I had. And then I ran out of everything I had and tried to kind of match something for the very bottom here. And the yarn was thicker. It was more of a sport weight, I think, than a fingering weight. And so it kind of caused the hem to roll out just a little bit. And I still have a tail that I haven't woven in. I'm really bad about that. But all in all, I think it's really cute. And she wears it. She really likes it. She likes horses. And it's just turned out really cute. And to be using like all scrap yarn, I think it's pretty amazing, personally. So, yes, this was my second Ghost Horses sweater. Knit for my daughter. This is the Alpine Bloom Tee by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks. And this is knit out of gabiesknitgoodies hand-dyed yarn. It's my own hand-dyed yarn in peacock blue, and new growth is the contrast color. And as you can see, I have a little extra room in this one because I knit 2 to 3 sizes larger than what the pattern would call for my size, because I actually knit this one for my mother. So Mom, if you're watching, this is the spoiler. It's a full top down, full yoked sweater, and it has these beautiful blooms, hence the name Alpine Bloom. And it has the beautiful unique detail along the neckline here of the lace, which I absolutely love. There you go. And it's super soft and cozy in merino nylon fingering weight yarn. And I actually kind of like it with all of this room. So if I knit one for myself, I might actually go large on this. And you could do like a nice little front tuck. I think it's kind of cute, big. So, continuing the theme of me loving Caitlin Hunter's patterns, I have one that I cast on recently. This is the Tecumseh sweater. She put this pattern out quite a while ago. I decided to knit it because I'd had my eye on it since when she put it out, like maybe a year or so ago, maybe it was 2 years ago. And I've wanted to knit it since then. I don't really know why I didn't knit it. For one, it requires a lot of yarn because it's kind of a bulky sweater. It's knit out of DK weight yarn, and it's a top-down seamless sweater, and it has colorwork stripes in a few different sections, and it has a deep armhole, so it's very cozy. I love my Easy V sweater that feels kind of like a sweatshirt, and I thought that the construction and like the sizing of this one would have a similar vibe of being just like an oversized cozy sweater, sweatshirt like thing. It is a DK weight, so like a light worsted, and it requires 3 colors, a main colorway, and then you have these little plus signs, and then you have this beautiful color work. So I've knit this out of my own hand-dyed yarn, which is the reason I could do it now and afford it, because I started dyeing yarn in order to be able to afford luxury hand-dyed yarns. And I thoroughly enjoyed knitting with my yarns. So this is the dark and stormy colorway, and then the greenish one is the matcha green tea latte, and then the tan colored one is coffee with cream. I like a lot of cream in my coffee. And I think it's really pretty. The matcha does not stand out very bright against the blue, but the coffee with cream does, which is kind of what I wanted. I didn't want that green to be very obvious. I kind of wanted just a little bit of that pop of color, but overall very like neutral sweater. Because I do plan on this being a very easy to wear, cozy, comfy sweater. And I'm just really loving how this is turning out. So I will keep you guys updated on this whip in the future and in the other patterns that I knit up. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this and found it helpful, and I will talk to you guys later.